There's a funky hot spot where we can vibe together.
So just a little primer, because most of us are in the Tony world, we probably have heard of the king, warrior, magician, lover, the four archetypes. If we actually look at the book that it's based, in the small print, it's discovering the archetypes of the mature masculine, which I thought was fascinating. Because it's not really about the feminine, but it's still I think it still resonates with a lot of people because those are the primary, right? But if you actually read the book, I think Brandon this morning was reading it, you'll notice that it's really about the mature and the immature masculine and tapping into it. So guys, this is like down your alley, right?
Yeah, can I expand on that
Yeah,
real
yeah,
quickly?
please do.
Because there's also another component, and Bob and I talked about this earlier, is there's also the shadow side of the masculine, and that there's a passive and an active shadow. That's important because the same thing occurs on the feminine archetypes.
Yeah. So the feminine archetypes, of course, we're more complicated, so we have 7 instead of 4. How it's actually explained was really interesting to me. So a lot of people, they sign up for this call because they want to tap more into their feminine. But the feminine archetypes, it's just like the sovereign, the king, magician, warrior, lover, right? It's just archetypes that we embody. Some of the archetypes are more quote unquote masculine than others. Some of them, like you might have heard of the Huntress, right? That's probably the most masculine of the feminine archetypes. So it's not that all of these are, what Tony was saying, like feminine and masculine. It's just we embody different roles. And there is one archetype that, mainstream media that we associate with feminine. There's one of these. Can any of you guess what that might be? That's a distinction for me. Which one do you think of the 7, lover, huntress, queen, maiden, mother, sage, and mystic, do you think is most associated with mainstream feminine?
I would say the lover, maybe.
The lover. Okay. Bobbin, did you want to say something?
I don't know why, but like queen, but no, I don't think that's right.
Okay.
But,
So it's a little bit of everything, right? So lover is the predominant, what we know mainstream as the feminine archetype. Lover archetype is the archetype for relationships. It's the archetype for creating passion and that excitement. And when you see people like the women who are, Tony talks about the feminine power is so powerful, right? It captivates the audience, it encapsulates the masculine energy. The attractive energy, that is the lover. Now, for us, it's not that we're just an archetype, just like you're not just a warrior, magician, or sovereign, right? It's like, how did the combination of it create the environment that we have, the people that we attract? And, and sometimes there are weaknesses. So that's really what we're talking about. If we had to put it in a box, this is my own interpretation of it. If you have a different one, please do share. I think the lover is a lot of this lover and mother archetype. The warrior is definitely the huntress, trying to fight through everything. Like it's really about fighting for a cause, doing whatever it takes to get to a goal, right? The sovereign, that's the queen and the sage. And we'll talk about the differences between the two. And then the magician, that's the playful jester, right? The playful, the kind of mysterious, spiritual side. And that's the maiden and the mystic. One of the things that I really got caught up with was I was very attached to the name of the archetypes. So just like John said, mother doesn't mean you have to be a mother. For me, I had a huge reaction to sage because my idea of a sage was like a wrinkly wise woman. Like you think of a tribe and it's like the woman who's gathered like a grandmother, right? Like the ancient tree of wisdom. And when I was going through a relationship for the first time, I was 25. I'm like, that's not really me. I'm not ready for that yet. Like that looks kind of ugly. So I'm gonna skip that. But now I realize that that's not actually it, right? There's the meaning of it, the body of it is so much more than the actual word, right? So sage, for example, sage is the kingmaker. So the queen attracts the king because they're peers, right? You see powerful men, but the sage is like the counselor. It's kind of like sage for Tony, right? She is the person that creates the king and Tony. If you've ever seen Tony, there's a different version of Tony before he had message, vastly different than post stage.
Yeah. So, yeah, very different. I'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that.
So let's just really quickly go over it just to make sure that, you know, the guys on this call have a good understanding of what it is. And also you can reflect on your own experiences of what it's like to be with someone who's predominantly a certain archetype, right? So we'll go over this really quickly. If you want to interrupt me, feel free to.
Well, yeah, and I'd love to do this too, is at certain points, I may call on a man or two to give their experience of the archetypes so that we can serve the women in the group so they can understand how men may react when that certain archetype shows up. Or another option is if any of the women in the group would like to ask the men, not me, right? So you can get some independent opinions. What is it like?
Bill is smiling so big,
Yeah.
he wants to talk.
There you go.
You know, he
So
wants to
what
get
is
feedback
it?
later.
What is it like to be, you know, surrounded by somebody who is in this specific archetype? What does it feel like? What's their experience? If you want to do that, it's available. That's the purpose of the group.
Okay, so the lover, when you talk to someone, and by the way, this is not my thing, of course. This is like this is from the relationship trip by the lady Ayesha. If you go to her course, the most important archetype that she says is the lover. You know, that is the archetype that we said earlier. That's the archetype of passion. If you're new to the dating scene, you know, like that's the archetype you want to ignite, because think of the lover for the feminine, right? Think of the lover as a spotlight on you. That's the energy that attracts attention. It's magnetic. It's literally the energy of love. It's charismatic, you know, it's like the showstopper, right? People want to be around her because it's just something very alluring. So it's that attractive energy. It's the it factor. So if you've ever been called magnetic, so Joyce, I'm talking to you, you know, there are certain points where like you can turn on the lover and it's like, you know, you're being seen, right? That's the lover archetype.
And I'll speak into that for a second, is and one of the important elements of this is being able to also turn these off, turn them on, turn them off at will. So for example, the lover is the one that's seeking attention. So I want you to imagine for a second, and this is actually could be a place for guys to come off mute and give their input if they're interested, of like, what does it feel like when they're with somebody who they think they're in a committed relationship with, and that person is seeking attention from other men, or it feels like they are. That is the danger of the lover being turned on, like full tilt, while we're in a deep relationship.
Yeah.
And if you are going to have it turned on, make sure it's aimed, because we can aim that energy also. And I'm sharing it because this was one of our breakdowns that Annie and I had early in our relationship. It's very high lover, and there was an attention-seeking experience that I was having. And
I would like, I was attention seeking.
Yeah. And actually it was a intervention with Tony that broke it. So it was pretty wild to actually have Tony engage for about 12 seconds. And there was like this immediate shift. And I won't bore with all the details. It doesn't really matter.
It was very impactful. Let's just say that. If we have more time, we can share. When we talk about seduction, okay, there are many different types of seduction. Men, you might have experienced this, right? The lover is the predominant archetype, and it's the combination of the lover and then another archetype that creates your unique seduction style, right? So imagine if the lover and the mother, like that attraction is very different than, you know, the lover and the queen, which is more of like a diva, strong presence. So if you look at all the ads, right? This is what mainstream media screams for the lover. It's very, sometimes a lot of women resist this energy because mainstream media has really sexualized the energy. It is related to being in our body and feeling sensual and sexual, like feeling good in our body. But because it's hypersexualized right now, there's a lot of resistance because there's a lot of this right-wrong conversation of like, so it's a little, so this is, I mean, this basically is what people talk about when they say feminine, you know, so it's not exactly accurate, you know, it's kind of misinterpreted. but this is
It's a great thing to turn on if you want to get your man's attention.
Yeah.
I just noticed, I think I saw the guys' heads all bobbing at the same time. And I think it was almost in unison.
yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So this is the predominant one. Now, the maiden, as the name suggests, it's that youthful, innocent archetype that is, it doesn't even have to do anything with age. So there's an example of someone in our friend circle in Platt that I think embodies this perfectly. Of course, Princess Diana, but Princess Diana isn't in Platt. You might have seen Maureen Miles walk around with her now fiance Mike. If you see her, you'll notice that there is this like aliveness, this playful energy, even though she's super accomplished. But when she's around Mike, it's like they're playing all the time, they're laughing, they're having fun. It's like this tease, but it's like, it's not the heavy seduction, right? It's like this light, playful flirtation that is very fun.
Yeah, we were talking about this morning. It was Sage. There's this example that Sage or Tony gives about Sage, where she's playing hide and seek with Billy Beck.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah.
maiden energy.
Yeah. So with all of these archetypes, there's a light side and a dark side. So the light side is what we just talked about, right? It's this energy of youthfulness, transformation, renewal. There's a lot to learn. Anytime like you're going through a dark time and you're looking to transform into like what's next, right? That's usually that maiden youthfulness energy. The dark side is that the maiden is highly codependent. The maiden relates herself to other people. I'm the daughter of my, this male figure. I'm the wife of John. I'm the mother to someone. So her identity is very much dependent on someone else. So we might see a lot of younger women and even older women where they may, some people might call them naive or innocent, and they're drawn to a rather dark masculine figure. So like we might say like, oh my gosh, she's following the wrong influences, right? Bad influence. That's a lot of that maiden energy. That's, seeking for that protection, right? But maybe not in the right or appropriate places. Okay. Huntress is the exact opposite of the maiden. So, when Tony says uncertainty is the spice of life. So all these archetypes, they actually kind of conflict with each other, which is what makes things interesting and sometimes rather difficult. The Huntress, we worked with someone who is predominant Huntress. So some main characteristics of Huntress, she is highly independent. She's not like, this is like the anti-maiden, right? She's all about creating her own identity to the very extreme. And this is someone that we worked with. It's like untraditional gender roles, complete rejection of the patriarchal norms, right? You might see this a lot with the more extreme feminist movements and I'm not saying it's not right or wrong, right? It's just this energy of I'm creating my own identity and no one else can tell me what I need to do. It kind of relates for me, like men going through the tunnel. I'm like, I got to shed away all these expectations of who other people think I should be. I'm trying to figure out who am I, right? So it's highly independent. It can get a little ugly. So it's not like the dainty, like loving, soft feminine is a little bit harsh. So think of the warrior, right? Great energy to tap into if you're getting shit done. Like you're just gonna hit the goal and then you're just gonna make it happen. Or sometimes a lot of people channel this energy for a cause. So if they want to make change and they want to protest and they really want to be the voice of the people who don't have a voice. Very powerful energy. Sometimes maybe emasculating. Because it's like whatever, right? Like I think Black Widow is perfect for this. Is like she'll kill you if you get in her way.
just notice none of the guys are smiling right now. Like they like, oh, love her, that's amazing. Maiden, yes. Huntress, she's hot, but I don't want to date her.
But so sometimes though, right? Huntress by itself could be a little bit intimidating, but if we compare it with the lover, I mean, like at some point Black Widow falls in love, like with the Hulk, right? But it's like you just gotta manage it, right? If you're dating,
the only man on the Avengers team that could withstand the Huntress is the strongest character in all of Marvel. I'm just saying that, I'll let you come to your own conclusions.
Yeah. I've never heard of feminine rage. I only heard of it because I started research. Some people talk about feminine rage. This is that. I don't know too much about it, so don't ask me about it. Okay, Queen. So now we're moving into more of the sovereign. I really want you to take the notice between Queen and Sage because this is something that I didn't catch the first time. Queen, think of the queen bee. Any of you watch Mean Girls? Yeah, Mean Girls? No, no Mean Girls? Come on.
I see Bill. Bill's watched it. All right.
So yeah, if you haven't watched it, it's like think of a crowd of girls, right? So in Mean Girls, there's like the girl, the mean girl. The queen doesn't have to be mean, but it's like the center of gravity for a group. And this person is generally popular, everyone wants to emulate her. And there's something very regal or elevated about her. So if you walk down the street, like if you ever go to a networking event and you see a woman that's dressed to the nines and tens, like she's not dressed for comfort, she's there to really make an impression. The way she dresses elevates her above everyone in her peer group, right? So this is the luxury, the designer brands, the finer things in life, if you will. The queen, think of her as the matriarch of a community or a family. It's a very powerful figure. You might have heard of the boss babe energy, female entrepreneurs, right? Because it's that leader that people are looking for, because she's so inspiring, people want to follow her and they're inspired by her charm and all that. They want to be her, basically. I think you have something. Do you have anything to add for Queen?
No.
Yeah. We did a exercise where at a time a couple of years ago, I think I'm still like that though. I was lacking confidence. I was like, my trainer told me that I was like a weak little mouse when I spoke. And so we played a game where I was to embody Beyonce. And like, just think of the confidence, the unapologetic confidence, and just like the command of the room. So very helpful archetype to tap into if you're looking for that confidence, if you're trying to build something and you're looking for social allies. Very, very powerful archetype to tap into. Contrast that with the Sage, also regal, but is slightly more muted. So if you watch Suits, that's Jessica. If you haven't watched Suits, Suits is basically a law show where Jessica owns her own law firm. But her authority is a little bit different. It's like it's still regal like the queen, but it's cooler, So the Sage is the counselor. She's generally the head of the industry. She's got a lot of knowledge. Jupiter, I think you were talking about this. You're a lot of the mother lover and then also Sage.
Sounds a lot like me.
Yes. So listen to this. For the Sage, because there is a lot of wisdom, it's literally the archetype of strategy, of war. People come to you for counseling. And the result of that is a lot of the times strategy is in our head. Wisdom is in our head. So a lot of women who are very strong sages may have some difficulty tapping into their body, into their sensuality, and feeling comfortable doing that.
Very true.
So one of my really good mentors, Maureen Pahacek, she is top of industry. She was senior partner at PwC, got featured in Forbes for breaking the glass ceiling for women. Like, she is so accomplished, and I look up to her every day. She's very high Sage. And one of the things that she really was talking openly, in the in front of the relationship group, was that sometimes she wants to be deeper in her heart, because she's so much of the strategy that she's working on really embodying her feminine, because she really is a feminine woman. She's very much of a lover, but that's where the conflict is. There is also another really good just imagery of the Sage. Sage, we call them the secret weapon. I don't know if anyone's called you. I like this because John calls me a secret weapon, so I'm like, I embody this, right? A lot of the first ladies are sages. They may not be the spotlight like the queen, but they are the counselor to the man and creates the king.
Yeah, like this picture of Ronald and Nancy Reagan is a great example, because without Nancy, he may not have even run to be president. She was a huge part of it. And then once he was there, she was the one behind the scenes making sure that he stayed the king. She was, counseling him, advising him. What he wasn't seeing, she was pointing out. And so we've shared a little bit about like King Arthur and Guinevere as an example. Guinevere is exactly that. She's the sage.
Yeah. Okay. And then the final two, the mother is probably the most commonly understood, the lover and the mother. The mother, especially because one of the predominant reasons someone taps into her mother archetype is she becomes mother, right? So it's that energy of nurturing, loving. The distinction for this is we don't have to be a mother to tap into the mother energy. Think of the mother as the girl next door. So she's really easy to get along with. She's warm, she's friendly. I mean, Jupiter, I see that for you in a caregiving role. Your job is literally to care and give love, right? So school teachers, nurses, like more of that. It's really about compassion. So when we talk about dating, right, this is the interesting part. Seduction gets you noticed. So the lover gets you noticed. Then we got to build a base after we seduce the man, right? So how do we build the deeper
Wait,
connection?
Is that how it works? You seduce us? I thought, yeah.
Mutual seduction. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street.
I'm pretty sure that
He's
you
seduced.
convinced me to seduce you.
I seduced him to seduce me. The mother is what builds the deep connections. So we have a lot of women that are like, I attract people, right? But it's like we're missing the depth. That's the mother, right? It's like
Yeah.
getting to know someone, really hearing them and honestly loving on them, but it's not like you're mothering the man, but it's you're caring for him, right? And you would do things for people that you care for.
Yeah, this is the depth. That's
Yeah.
what this is. It's the depth of the beginning of the relationship, especially.
Yeah. And then last but not least is the mystic. I think Sage is very much the mystic. Of course, she's also Sage. I think she is the Sage to Tony. And then now, I don't know if any of you have gone to her Sage sessions. She's very much the Sage now because she is the counselor that a lot of women go into. On stage with Tony, we see her a lot in a spiritual context. So that's the mystic. The mystic is more introverted, but the identifying factor of a mystic is it's just peaceful. If you've ever listened to Sage talk, her tone, it's like it's soothing. There's this level of serenity and peace and calm. And it's a lot about being in the spirit, finding fulfillment in the moment. Very grounded. So when do we need to tap into the mystic is, for me especially, right? I'm kind of all over the place. I have a lot of energy. Sometimes I'm impulsive, right? So the mystic is what grounds us, and it allows us to find peace within ourselves, not seeking external validation, right? Not seeking anything else. I'm just happy being by myself in front of a fireplace, drinking cocoa by myself, so that sense of inner groundedness.
Get together.